This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a spicy edition of the Only Friends podcast. We got Nipplegate right out of the gate. What do you got? What do you guys want to talk about? You want to get a little pinch in? It doesn't stop, man. The World Series is in full blown mode. We have our first scandal of the series, our first firing, our first payout war with the powers that be.
We're not even a week in.
Are we a week? Is it 1 week or is it less than
1
1
week?
week?
Today or tomorrow. Depends if you count the employees event.
I guess we're going to count the employees event because it's a start, so I guess we'll count it.
Yeah.
It's been 1 week.
1 week. Here we are.
1 week.
Haralabob didn't like us talking about the intricacies of nipples.
No. No. To be clear, Haralabob wanted to hear Melissa talk about the intricacies of nipples.
For double the time.
We should just call Melissa right now. Hey, you want to jump on the pod so we can get your take on this?
The irony was that he was saying we talked about nipples for too long, and if she had been here, we would have talked about it for 3 times as long.
Oh yeah, we would have
for sure.
We would have got way deeper into that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's up?
Real quick, as I've told you guys before, and as you, the viewer, will now know, today is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Thank you for being great. I love you.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Mama Tice.
Yay!
Wow,
What a
she
time
did
to be
it.
alive.
Remember when she told you that you had another? You
I
were
know.
like the fourth or something.
He had a quadruplet that he absorbed in the womb.
Yeah,
he
my
never
entire
knew that.
life. My entire life, I thought I was a triplet. I'm not.
We trolled him for so long saying like he was the big one because he obviously ate the fourth. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And then one day we said it on Twitter and she was just like, no, that happened.
Yeah, life comes at you fast.
How terrifying of a time is it being alive when your mom is on Twitter?
I've given some guidelines, so we'll be all right. Hopefully.
Did she give you some guidelines?
No, I know how social media works. She's a little bit behind.
There was a solid like 5 years when I first got onto Twitter, when my account was much smaller and a lot of the people following me were like people from my hometown and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where I was incredibly mindful about swearing and like choosing my words very appropriate, like very adult-like.
Yeah.
I wanted to portray this.
Berkey was Catholic as fuck.
You were. You just wanted to be a gentleman.
All the parents liked me when I was a kid, and I wanted to like further that. And then I just realized like I'm 40, man.
You have an outstanding image. You're like, I need to represent. My people need to know that I'm good. Like I have a clean record. I don't curse. And now it's like I don't give a fuck anymore, bro. Like
It's something in between there. Like I feel like I'm very genuine and authentic.
Yeah, when do you think we lose that? Like with that, like I don't want to like piss off the parents. Like, is it like 30, 40?
No, it wasn't that.
Sure.
I still, if I saw any of them today, I would still be very.
You're going to be respectful, right?
But that was always what it was. That was always just what it was. Like I didn't swear in front of parents because I saw them as authoritative figures that I showed deference to.
Yeah, I still would do. I still wouldn't curse in front of anyone.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
But if they choose to watch this podcast, that's on their own accord now.
Right, exactly.
Like, you're going to get me unfiltered.
Exactly.
You're going to see what it's like when I hang out with your son.
Right.
I've always been unfiltered.
Like I still don't swear around your parents, and I'm way more comfortable with them now than I ever was.
Yeah,
as a kid.
I swear around my parents.
Yeah,
that's because you're an adult now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're an adult. You get to do adult things like curse.
Right.
When you're a kid,
well, my
you don't
dad
get to do
also
adult
cursed,
things.
so it's just like.
Oh yeah, Chico doesn't give a shit. He's over it. Shipped another bracelet to a well-known player yesterday, Mr. Chad Eveslage.
Eveslage, yeah.
Eveslage. All right, I got that right.
Chad E.
Second or third bracelet?
I think it's his first.
I think it's his first.
I think it's his first one. It's his maiden bracelet.
Yeah, I think it's his first.
I remember earlier this morning seeing that maiden bracelet given to Chad Eveslage. So, congrats, Chad.
Okay,
Doing
maybe
great.
this was his first. Congratulations. He beat an unknown player heads up. Really crazy thing. They didn't report on who the person was at all. It's just nameless in all of the hand history. Wild that at this day and age, somebody completely anonymous could make it to second place in a 25K high roller. But hey, Congratulations, Chad. Well
Nice shit,
deserved,
Chad.
sir. Way to win one for the good team.
He's been beasting it. Like,
second,
yeah.
over the last few years, he's been crushing
Chad
it.
is on a tear. He
Yeah.
won a WPT. He wins this. He wins a bunch online. He's everywhere.
He's
I'd say he's
dope.
very chance-like.
Okay.
Just kind of like everything from a 3,500 WPT buy-in all the way up to a 25K high roller. Like,
Yeah.
Chances of 50K today.
does he have chips?
Third.
Summer or Dan?
Yeah, of course.
Summer or Dan?
Dan's
Summer
chip leader.
Dan Smith, chip leader.
Fucking dead.
A chance.
No, we know, but
Oh.
it's the
We're
summer
talking
of
about
Dan.
the Summer of Dan.
Oh, it is the summer of dance.
Summer of Dan.
Big Dan.
We're gonna have to change the name. It's gonna
Yeah,
have to be
we'll
the
change-
Only Dan
yep.
podcast.
Yeah, Summer of Dan O'Brien. Summer of Dan.
like at the end of the summer, we're just gonna have to have a day where it's the Only Dan podcast, and the Council of Dans comes
Yeah.
and just sits on like kicks us all out,
Right.
and they
Yeah,
just have
exactly.
a discussion amongst the council.
Oh, it's just
made me
only
think.
the Dans?
Yeah, Only the Dans.
Wow.
The Only
Okay,
Dan podcast.
so we need to have 6 Dans.
yeah.
Dan Zach,
shouldn't be
Dan
hard.
Smith, Danielle White, and then Dan O'Brien, and then
Yeah.
we need 2 more Dans.
Don't you worry. I'm going to go change my name to
D
Dan.
Moon and then D Negs.
Easy.
Yeah.
Done.
Welcome to the council.
That wasn't even
You're
hard.
hired.
That wasn't even hard.
Yeah, Landon's infomercials are getting me fucking. I can't take it.
Before we get into the shits, I just have one quick thing to announce for BetMGM. So far, they've given away 60 seats to online qualifiers for the 3,500 Aria event they partnered with. I believe it's on June 23rd. There is a free roll on June 22nd that online qualifiers can still get into. I believe they're giving away another 15 seats on Sunday. So if you haven't already, 5 more seats over the next 3 Sundays. If you haven't already qualified and you're in Pennsylvania, Michigan, or New Jersey, by all means, play those satellite qualifiers and give yourself a shot at getting into this 3,500 $1 million guarantee.
Bro, everyone's rich.
Are they?
Yes, I busted out. I busted out of the Down Bad Invitational, right?
Okay.
And there was a massive line, and I tweet, I'll pay anyone $20 an hour to freaking wait in line. All they have to do is I'll give them my ticket, and then when you get to the front of the line, you text me, and then I go pick it up. No one responds. I raised it up to $35 an hour. No biters. 50. And I'm like,
I almost drove down to the Rio when I saw the
I was
50.
like 50, and no one takes it. I'm like, I'm going home. Like,
Yeah.
this shit is insane. Like, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna come back and late reg it because fuck this.
What it's worth, you could have just texted me. I would have left my chips. The lines were not bad at all.
Bro, the lines were not bad.
When did you tweet
You're
this?
bugging, bro.
Yesterday?
bugging.
The line was past WSOP Cafe.
Yesterday was day 2.
No, I'm talking about the Down Bad Invitational housewarming. Dude,
There were
It's not-
500 people in line waiting to get
I
seats.
ran so fucking good for lines with that. I literally waited 90 minutes across all my bullets.
Yeah, I mean, you got lucky. You
You
definitely
waited
busted
for
at the right
90
times.
minutes?
Yes.
That
Nah,
is
bro.
a long time.
No, for
Total.
One time was the first time when the chips got all fucked up, so it took like an hour X. But
Yeah. I think I played 3 times. I waited for probably somewhere around 25 minutes or something.
yeah, we
I waited
good.
5 minutes for all my bullets.
Anyways,
Yeah, I played 3 times and I didn't wait at all.
you waited a little bit that one time.
The first time I waited maybe
Yeah.
like 10 minutes tops.
Yeah, it would be really bad to wait in 2 lines. Just put money in the TBIC and then get your ticket and then go.
TBIC.
No, I had money
Don't
in
wait in the
TBIC.
line beforehand.
It was
It was
the
the late
getting
reg
seat.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a point where we played 6-handed or 7-handed for like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
We had 3 seats open, but the lines were so long and there were so many seats to fill that they couldn't get them out. Like the verification of checking ID, getting them the seat card, all that stuff took so much time that like they couldn't catch up. Now, where they did catch up, which was kind of a good thing, was that long break. So when they did the long color up break, the line just like immediately consolidated a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone's rich.
Why are you laughing?
Corey just texted me.
I don't like this inside joke shit. Share with the team or don't share at all.
Yeah, you can't, no sharing by laughter.
All right. We got 2 major topics to discuss today. Very different topics. Very different topics. First of which is being Massagegate, Nipplegate, whatever you want to call it. This big scandal around. I didn't really want to fucking talk about this, man. I really didn't.
No, of course not.
I was hoping like the 10 minutes we gave it yesterday was going to be more than enough. But now, here we are, a day later. There's more fallout. We found out that Cynthia, I might be mispronouncing that, Cynthia. I think there's no H. Cynthia was let go by the massage company, which, well, prior to her being fired, Frank issued an apology via Twitter, which I thought was really good. Or maybe not. Maybe good's the wrong word. I don't want to applaud him.
It was fair.
Yeah, it was fair. I don't want to like overly applaud the guy who caused this whole mess, but like he did the right thing in apologizing, at least, even if he did the wrong thing. It
seemed heartfelt.
Yeah, it seemed heartfelt and it seemed well put together.
Right.
He was willing to take ownership over the whole thing. He basically said, like, there shouldn't be fallout for Cynthia. This was my doing. If anybody should be punished, punish me. Now, there's a problem with that, though. And I think that this is where the bigger discussion lies. If we look at this from the business's perspective, like the people who can dole out punishments, right? It's the WSOP and it's the massage company. So the WSOP is organizing an event that consists of playing in poker tournaments. They're licensing or allowing freelance work from other companies on property, right? Be it massage companies, be it, well, I guess everything else is kind of in-house that they're licensing from Bally's in Paris. So all the food, the waiters, the staff, all that stuff, I would imagine is overseen by Bally's in Paris. Maybe the wait staff is a part of WSOP's purview, but I would imagine that's as far as it goes. Like, my whole point is that WSOP doesn't really have much, if any, say at all over how the massage company does their business. Some, I imagine they can employ guidelines.
Right. No, we understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah, very similar to the booths, right? Like T-Mobile has a booth. WSOP can say, like, hey, don't do X, Y, and Z, but otherwise carry about your business. They can't say, like, you're not allowed to say the word cell phone. Or maybe they could say that. I don't know. But my whole point is, like, it's not up to them to decide, like, who works the booth. It's not up to them to police that type of stuff. Just like it's not up to them to police the massage company and how they deal with their guidelines. It is in their purview to deal with their consumers. And in this instance, Frank is a customer. So the problem that we're seeing here as it plays out in front of us is that Frank didn't technically break any rules outside of, like, maybe some code of conduct stuff or some, I guess, respectfulness. Like he was disrespectful to the people around him. But I heard that the video was actually taken on break. So now it's like there were even less people or fewer people. Basically, if it weren't ever posted to Twitter, no one would have ever known, kind of thing. So this becomes a weird situation now where there are two separate entities with two separate motivations dealing with one unified problem. The problem was obviously initiated by Frank. This had to be his idea, I would assume. I doubt it was the massage therapist.
Definitely.
And I assume that it was leveraged by offering a large tip, right? So the question that we land on then is, what punishment, if any, should Frank suffer? And what punishment, if any, should the massage therapist suffer, right? And I kind of posed these yesterday, and we all kind of came to the conclusion of, like, well, it was done in good humor, even if it was done in poor taste. And for that, there shouldn't be, like, major ramifications. Well, fast forward a day, and we know that the massage therapist was let go, right? So I guess the question that I'll start with is, what should WSOP's response be to this, if anything, with regard to making a statement on the massage therapist being let go, and with regard to Frank? Jin?
I was not in favor of firing her. Pre-production, you guys made a pretty good argument that kind of started to sway me a little bit, but it does feel like a very harsh punishment
Let's stick to the specifics of what action, if any, should WSOP be taking
against Frank, because that's the only person they can control, right?
Well, I mean, we can assume that they might have some influence over the massage company, but basically, that should they make a statement about the woman being fired? Should they punish Frank in any way, shape, or form? Should they even address this at all publicly?
I don't think they should address it because it's just going to bring more eyes on it. So in a PR sense, I think they shouldn't really like make any public statement about it.
Okay.
In regards to Frank, I mean, I don't know. It feels like if someone's making a joke like that, yeah, it's a little bit out of line, poor taste. It was in good faith. I don't think we should be a drastic punishment for him, if at all. Yeah, I don't see like a punishment of like you can't play the main event being like reasonable. So that's my take on the WSOP. I don't really see anything that's reasonable for them to punish Frank on. And then in regards to the woman, my initial Cynthia, my initial take was that she should be on probation. I know you guys did sway me in like why there's a really good case for her to be fired, but I just feel like I don't know if the punishment fits the crime, like to just like immediately release her, but I do see the side that you guys took of like it's a really bad look for them. So my final take is, at least for now, I'm open to being swayed, is nothing for Frank and probation for the massage therapist for now.
Yeah, I guess I'll take over here. From the WSOP side, it's very challenging. This is, I'm not going to say a marketing hit, but it's a weird thing that happened. And it's all to do with WSOP's, I don't want to say brand necessarily, but what they can't do is say this is okay for the public to do. And that's what can be implied from that photo. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that's what Frank was trying to accomplish. But I think in the world of public opinion these days, people just look at photos and they take it for face value. And I'm not saying that's right. But this is the world we live in, right? It's flipped. You're innocent until proven guilty, and then you're guilty till proven innocent in the court of public
opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so let me try to like.
Finish,
oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
So whatever WSOP has to do here, it has to be in a public forum. And I think the apology is the first step. I disagree with you slightly. I think WSOP can come out and say something like, we do not condone this type of action.
That's fair.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of punishing him like for events, maybe just like a 2 or 3 day suspension. I don't know what days, but like it shouldn't be like a whole month. It shouldn't be the entire series.
Right.
For sure.
Maybe just like a week off.
It would be kind of wild that if they prevent him from playing some events, but then there's, we have Ali and all these other players that don't have any punishment.
Yeah, insane.
That's a bad look.
But also one person did something in their establishment, the others did not. So
sure, but technically there isn't like a hard fast rule that he broke that warrants warrants.
I'm not saying anything.
Suspension. I'm not trying to defend Frank, right? Like I think we can all agree that from a social standpoint, he's the most guilty party here, and he even admits that himself, right? I think like I was talking to Katie Stone about this off air, and I think like she had a really good idea as far as like what could happen. He's just lifetime banned from the massage company. I think that's something that they could proactively do.
Yeah, I think
say like we don't want your business anymore. This is the problem, and I think that's a really good equitable solution.
I agree.
Even though it feels way less than the woman being let go. Right? It's so amplified that she lost her job over this as being so unfair compared to the person who initiated the whole thing. But before I move this conversation along into more of or less of the business lens and more of the societal lens, I do kind of want to not necessarily defend the decision of the massage company, but I want to create a framework by which I think that they're operating as a business. And I kind of spoke on this a little bit yesterday, but in this industry, especially personally knowing a lot of massage therapists throughout the years that I'm friendly with or are good friends with, there's a massive stigma, and they are harassed constantly, treated poorly, treated and sexualized in a manner where there's an unspoken expectation that they will blur the lines for enough money, or they'll blur the lines for a customer that they like, right? I see it happening all the time where massage therapists, I'm sure different companies allow different things, but like at the table, massage therapists will be very blunt and say, our company does not allow us to massage your legs. And the customer will just like absolutely give them a tongue lashing and embarrass them to some degree, right? Basically saying like, I'm the customer, I'm willing to pay whatever, yada, yada, yada. And just kind of like going off on something that is out of the control of the massage therapist because she's abiding by the guidelines and rules that are set by the company, right? Mm-hmm. In this particular instance, Cynthia absolutely coherently and willingly went against the guidelines and rules of her company. She had to know that there would be ramifications. And she had to make a calculation that this tip was going to be worth more than her potential future employment, right? The reason I'm framing it this way is because it's very easy to muddle business practices with the greater societal implications. And the greater societal implications are that she's a woman who is in a weird power dynamic with a man who is wielding money as leverage and putting her into a kind of compromised position, right? And that is true. That stuff happens all the time. I just gave a bunch of examples where the woman says no and takes a lot of flack for it or whatever the case may be. So like, I'm not trying to disregard that exists. But what I am trying to say is that there's a framework in place by her employer that allows her to empower herself to say no and to walk away from compromising situations. More importantly, and I don't know this for a fact because I don't know the inner workings of the company, but I would imagine that there are some sort of protocols in place where if she feels harassed by a customer, she can seek some sort of protection or security, whatever the case may be, right? So in all of that, I want to be sure that we don't go overboard and portray her as a victim in this particular instance, when she was acting on her own accord and clearly making a conscious decision to break rules. Now, is it that egregious that she deserves to lose her job? That's not for me to decide, right? Personally, I don't think so. Like it was lighthearted. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like, but if we come up with other scenarios where it's roles reversed, I think we would be very quick to dismiss. Like if this were a man massaging a woman's inner thigh and, kind of like looking back at the camera or something along those lines, we would be calling for his head. Mm-hmm. And rightfully so, right? Again, because there's a lot of stigmas and weird gender roles and power dynamics and things of that nature that are just are not okay. But the crux of this is that something that is a service that's being provided to people is being sexualized in a public forum, and that is not okay by the industry standard or by effectively societal standards. And that's where Farah really spoke out on this. And I want to stick a pin in the Farah thing because that's a whole separate conversation. But basically stating my piece on why I think that the massage company acted pretty reasonably in this instance.
Yeah, I'll double up too. I completely agree with you, and I think it's exacerbated because of the amplification that it was in a public forum.
Yeah,
I was saying to you guys before in pre-production, if this was done and nobody was around, but the company found out that she was like pinching his nipples for like, let's just say a photo or something, I don't think the company actually fires her generally. It's the amplification that is the problem.
Yeah.
It's the fact that there is a potential statement that is being made and being perceived through the public lens where Now all of a sudden it's a hit to the entire industry. And they feel like they have to do something like this. And I don't think, there were some tweets that's like, oh, her career is over, her ability to make money is over. I don't even think that's the case either. I think there's still rectification of her staying in the industry. It's just this needs to be done in, repercussions have to be done in a public setting as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the idea of extreme ownership. And what was bothersome to me was her kind of, and I understand it, right? Like, she's a single mom who's just trying to make her own way. And this job meant a lot to her. So I understand grasping at straws and doing all you can to rally the troops, get some support, and potentially find employment or get reemployed by this company, whatever the case may be. But I did take a little bit of issue with her tweet in basically portraying herself as the victim and blame shaming Farah for speaking out. So she effectively said something to the tune of, I'm a single mother of 2 children, and it cost me my livelihood just to fulfill a request for a joke of a well-known poker comedian. The cancel culture creates real victims. This is, and that leads into this, where she says the misogyny and response from the privileged woman will truly harm somebody who works 12 hours a day. So that was likely to have been directed at Farah, who was very poignant in tweeting that this is kind of disgusting behavior in a public forum, especially in our marquee event of the year in the WSOP, and that she felt there should be very harsh punishments for both Frank and the massage therapist.
I see, my small thing there is that's not what she said.
What she said?
She didn't say there should be harsh punishment. She said she should be fired. And like you mentioned before,
right? She said he should be banned or something.
Right, like you mentioned before, it's not up to you to decide if she should be fired or not, right? And I think that's the little crux, the little crux of the problem is that I think it would be perceived a lot better if Farah said, I think that there should be some punishments laid out for this, instead of her saying like she should be fired.
Sure,
and I think that's the only problem. That people are.
It's her opinion. No, Farah doesn't run the company, right?
I understand, but
to claim that she has that much weight is
Berkey. No, some opinions are definitely weighted a lot higher than other people's opinions. Farah is a very well-known woman poker player, married to another well-known, high-established poker player. This opinion from Farah is not like another person's opinion.
Okay, I think that's fair. And yeah, we could maybe hold Farah's feet to the fire to choose her words a little bit more wisely.
I'm not saying I even disagree or whatever. All I'm saying is the problem. I'm speaking for the people that disagree with Farah. Is the wording I think is a little harsh.
The reason why I'm saying it doesn't matter is Frank's not banned, so it's not fair to say that her word carried so much weight that this small massage company was like, "Wow, Farah Galfond's pissed. We have to fire this woman," and then the WSOP was like, "Farah's pissed. Who gives a shit?" Frank didn't do anything that big of a deal, right? So first of all, God, this is so hard to keep the conversation on track because there's so many moving parts. I want to talk about the Farah thing first, and then we'll double back to the asymmetric punishment here. It's very asymmetric in the sense that the massage therapist is paying a way bigger penance than Frank ever could. Literally nothing can be done to Frank that can be as harmful to him as it was to the massage therapist. Right. We have to acknowledge that at some point. Sticking a pin in that for a moment, I want to talk about the Farah thing because, okay, fine, maybe she was a little hot-tempered in her initial tweet, and maybe she could have chosen her words a little bit more wisely, and maybe even to some degree she did have an impact on getting this woman fired. Maybe she was going to be suspended, and they saw the tweet, and they said, you know what, I think that's enough to tip the scales. We need to let her go. Okay, maybe all of those things maybe all of those things are true in essence, right? Okay. But with that said, she is a voice, a female voice in the community that should be taken seriously.
For sure.
And on top of that, objectively speaking, the massage therapist did cross a line, right? Now, whether it was as a joke or whatever, we can add as many caveats to it as we want. But at the end of the day, the black and white world, as far as what is acceptable and not acceptable. She chose to do something that was unacceptable. This is why I take issue with her kind of blame shaming Farah and saying like, oh, you're a privileged white woman in a position of having an audience and having wealth, and I'm just a single mother trying to get by who had a lapse in judgment, right?
Yeah.
Those things can be true and still not necessarily be a good defense, right?
It's not a good defense, but her take is mostly like, what you say has massive impact on me. Mm-hmm. So be careful with what you say. And when that's fair. When you ask for my head, like at least like Farah didn't like look at her track record. Maybe this woman, like this is her first mistake in 12 years. Like, so it's like that's the conversation that I think she was trying to have, basically, in a like bad way.
Show a little bit more grace.
Yeah.
Show a little bit more discernment for the actual character of the person who's being indicted here.
Yeah, it's like this woman works in the service industry, and it's tough. Like, of course she made a mistake, but like asking for her head immediately, I don't know.
Did you actually call it disgusting? Because I even think that is a little like reaching.
It's hard for us to take that stance, man. Like it's easy for us to see that image as just like locker room humor, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I can't put myself in a female's shoes and know how that comes off.
Yeah, you're right.
And
you're right.
I just know that it's jolting to me in some regard, even though I could see the intention of trying to draw a laugh, right? Because it's boy humor, man. It's what 10-year-olds do.
Yeah, I think back at like, Helmuth coming in with like all those people carrying him and stuff, and like women being objectified in that, where they're just like fanning him and shit. And it's, where do we draw the line? I know that's not sexual, but it's still like massively objectifying. And
it is. It is. But again, like they're willfully being paid, and it's within the construct of okay, according to the rules.
I have a very extreme case that I think makes it very explicit why the punishments were so asymmetric. So let's say I was in this situation, but I am the president of the American Asian Association. And I go to the table and every single Asian I see, I just start using racial slurs on them. There's going to be asymmetric punishment, right? Right.
It wouldn't be the same as just some random nobody doing it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So like I deserve to get fired from my job because it means so much to my job that I'm not amplifying racial slurs in a
that is the big thing I want to keep highlighting over and over again is that this particular industry that she works in is a hot button issue for misogyny, for the stigmas that these women are one step removed from prostitution and things of that nature, and they're willing to do just about anything for the right price. So the industry as a whole is fighting this uphill battle, and in this particular instance, she didn't help that battle at all. So I'm not shocked to see a proactive response. Now, to go further, Farah put out a statement that said, well, actually, before we get to Farah's statement, I want to address the fact that like Frank took it upon himself then to, I assume Farah had him blocked. So he tweeted at Phil. Maybe I shouldn't assume that Farah had him blocked, but it seems reasonable that she did. Anyway, Frank tweets at Phil and basically, I don't know, the undertones of the tweet were just in poor form, man. It was like he was implying that Farah was the boss and unreachable, so he had to go through Phil in order to get to her. And he was basically saying like, she's evil and she wants vindication and got this poor woman fired. It's unfair. She wasn't actually affected by any of this. Basically, it's a lot of deflection.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's very, very, very poor form.
That one I didn't like for sure.
It was a lot of deflecting blame. It was a lot of throwing Farah under the bus. And then eventually, like he basically asked Phil to ask Farah, which is weird because it makes Phil like this weird gatekeeper. But anyway, he asked Phil to ask Farah if she would take positive action and ask the company to hire this woman back. Okay. Very unreasonable, I think, or at least could have been done in a much more diplomatic way. And, I understand Frank should feel some onus to make this right? But I don't think he's going about it through the right channels.
No.
If you want to make this right, hire her as your personal masseuse. Make up for the lost revenue.
Yeah.
Right? Have her, have her meet you once a week and give you private massages. Get her other clients. Help her build her business. Do things that will actually proactively put money back into her pocket that you unwillingly or unknowingly took away.
He did start a GoFundMe for what that's worth.
Stop putting the onus on everybody else.
Correct.
That's bullshit. Right? I'm not donating to a GoFundMe because you fucked up. Right? That's insane.
Right.
There are GoFundMes for real people out there dying from illness that desperately need to be saved. And it's not that I want to see this woman go without, because I don't. But it's Frank who needs to make this right. Right? And the only way to do that is for him to start to take proactive actions that can do this, not attack those that are passing judgment in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. So now we get to Farah. Farah put out a reply today and basically said, like, look, I wasn't trying to be malicious in any way, shape, or form. I was just calling it as I saw it. It was a disgusting act that isn't okay in a public sphere. And she basically said, like, look, I play private games. I see everything. This is tame compared to what happens there. The difference is that it's within an arena where people know what they're getting themselves into. Yeah. And they've agreed to do all this stuff, right? Yeah. None of the table mates, none of the onlookers, none of the people on Twitter or even WSOP agreed to this. She said, like, she's working to get in touch with the company and basically say, like, her original statement was too harsh, reconsider, whatever.
That's incredible. Like, everything she's saying.
Way more than she needs to.
Everything she's saying is 100% on point.
Way over the top, way more than she needs to. The thing that I really want to address in correlation to Frank's tweets is what it did specifically to Farah by putting that tweet out and effectively attacking her indirectly through Phil. This just unleashes a ton of hate and vitriol on Farah from anybody who sees Frank's side, right? It turns her into the evil villain that caused this whole fallout. And now all of a sudden she's going to get attacked publicly, she's going to get attacked privately, and she's going to get attacked indirectly from anybody who doesn't see some sort of reasonable element that allowed her to have her own opinion.
I feel that for sure. I also think we signed up for that when we entered that arena. Like, once you put out your opinion will be criticized by people that don't agree.
Your opinion can be dragged all day. Yeah. But she's being dragged as a person. Remember how he framed that tweet? She has evil in her. She did this maliciously, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So she's being dragged by hundreds, thousands of people maybe that are basically coming to bat for the massage therapist and coming to bat for Frank, where they feel he did something that was pretty innocuous.
To play devil's advocate, Frank feels the same way about Farah. He's like, Frank could be sitting there like, I'm not disgusting. This was just a joke. Like you're taking it too far, calling for people's heads, getting me banned. Like, it was a joke. Like, relax. It was on break. Like, so he feels the same towards Farah. And so it's, you know what I'm saying?
I think that, I think we can have a conversation about, like, when does cancel culture go too far? But I think the simple answer, without getting into all the nuance, is it's going to happen when done in a public sphere, right? So actions have consequences, and publicly doing or publicly having all of this play out over Twitter is what's leading to all of the fallout. And to somehow try to shirk that responsibility onto Farah
for sure
is not just a mistake, but it takes away from any sort of feeling wronged that Frank might have, right? Mm-hmm. He may feel overly critiqued and overly attacked for this thing. He may feel like it wasn't that big of a deal. And that's fine for him to feel that way because it's his opinion. Yeah. But when the masses are amplifying it and saying that your opinion is invalid, you kind of have to just take that for what it is. You can't then just say, like, no, you're invalid, and here's a new target that you should turn your attention to.
There are a lot of people on Frank's side, too.
Yeah, because I think that they can imagine themselves in his shoes very easily.
double fisting beers with the.
Well, I'm just saying it's not a lot of like minorities or women
I get it.
that are taking his side, right? It's a lot of guys that can relate to Frank in a general sense that could say like, yeah, I like to have a good time. I like to kick back a few. What's wrong with a nipple massage here and there? And the answer is nothing in a vacuum, but everything when you make it a spectacle.
Yeah, that's funny. A friend of mine texted me and was talking about like it's almost like an intersection of wokeness, right? Where it's like there's one, or like, in cancel culture, so there's one side where they're saying this is wrong and you shouldn't have, her massaging his nipples, doing all that. And then there's the other side of wokeness, like you can't fire this, this poor single mother. So it's like, which side is more woke, right?
Yeah, this is where I'm at. It's just like, I don't want her fired.
Yeah,
that was wrong, right? But I also don't want her fired. It's a weird spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the perfect world, what ultimately happens is she pays her debt by being fired, but then gains gainful employment through some other opportunity that Frank brings her, either through his celebrity or through his own pocketbook.
In a perfect world.
In a perfect world, yeah. In this world, she's probably going to struggle for a bit.
Right, exactly.
And that's why this GoFundMe thing is, in my opinion, very stupid.
Yeah.
Like, not only what you were saying before, where it's not the masses that should be paying for Frank's, the originator's problems, but it should be him giving her a way to replicate that type of income somewhere else. So I think you're spot on with that. Man, it's really tricky because there's so many emotional arguments that are being brought up. Like, I get she's a single mother of two, but it's like, this is. It sucks that cancel culture has been brought into it because it really is just like a single person and actions have consequences, or two people actions have consequences.
Yeah, and the big problem with cancel culture is it's so fucking fickle, man. And I don't want to project, but it's like I'm a human. I observe things. I see how the angry mob chooses to bring the pitchforks, and it's like it's very simple to show sympathy for her because she's an adult woman who's struggling with children and is just trying to earn her way. But if this were a 20-year-old college kid who found it funny and was wearing like a crop top showing cleavage, I think now it's suddenly like less cancelable, right? And more people are just on the side of like, own your mistake, live and learn, you're young, you'll do better, right?
Yeah.
More people are easy to jump the line and say like, well, this just looks so inappropriate because of your appearance or whatever the case may be. And it's just like, when it comes to rational, good faith arguments, we have to be able to land on some sort of common ground that is consistent, right? And we know that we know that when it comes to gender and when it comes to like these power dynamics and all sorts of things, it's way too variable in nature. There's just no real common ground. It has to be a case by case basis, right? But when we come to sheer and utter optics from the business standpoint, it's like, well, there are rules, man, and we have to follow them. It's like, yeah, sure, we can show some grace and leniency in certain situations, and I think that this may have been one where that could have been the possible outcome. Nobody would have been upset if she kept her job. That's for sure. Or at least I don't think many people would have been upset.
Yeah.
But you also can't like fault businesses for doing what's in their best interest.
Correct. Like, I would be very happy if this woman was rehired in a year. But I also get right now that they can't say that, oh, she's just temporarily suspended, because they need to make sure they're letting everybody know, not just the massage therapists, but the clients, all potential clients. They need to know that this isn't right and this isn't something that we can tolerate.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Again, this is the company making a PR statement more so than anything. And I really hope that it can be flexible with the employment of this woman, because you don't deserve to lose your livelihood, but was your livelihood lost? Can she go? I don't know how like the industry is in here.
Yeah.
Can she go to another, group and just gain employment again?
Right. You hope so.
Yeah.
You hope so. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. And again, like if she got hired again tomorrow, like great.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pick a dog in that fight. I'm not trying to be the judge, jury, and executioner and saying like this is the punishment that appropriate fits the crime, because I don't know, and it's not up to me. Like it's the company's policy. Like whatever it is, maybe they have zero tolerance, maybe they're lenient. I don't know, and I'm not judging one way or the other, right? The only reason we're even having this discussion is because it involved somebody who was clearly in the wrong that can't be punished, and somebody who was kind of coerced in a way that there was upside to doing something against the rules, and there was downside for breaking those rules. So it's like, if this were, I don't want to keep drawing what ifs, because I think that it doesn't really carry the weight like it should. But there are a million other iterations of this scenario playing out where it's just easily laughed off. And that sucks. And that's something we have to acknowledge that exists. But life isn't really that fair. We can't always come up with an equitable solution. So, it kind of is what it is. Like we landed where we land. I think we can all come to some agreement that, Frank was way out of line in a few situations. His apology did seem genuine and heartfelt. But, as far as like the actions that he's taking, probably not enough.
Yeah.
All right. That was fun. All right, let's get into the, what do I want to call it today? We'll call it the actual event name, the housewarming event.
No, it's
the Colossus 2.0.
the down bad invitational.
The down bad invitational.
I like the DBI, man.
The DBI, the down bad invitational.
Not the,
Man,
not
I
the
really
UGI?
what's that?
It's the UGI.
What's
Good invitational. I mean, I thought
No,
it was fine.
no.
Yeah, that's because the tortoise made a deep run,
A deep
walk, if
Deep
you will.
walk.
Deep crawl,
Deep
if you will.
crawl.
Deep crawl.
The manager cashed.
Yeah, we did it.
He did it. He got one bullet. Finished
That's all I
what,
needed.
300 and
A
something.
sniper.
You guys were talking last week, like, oh, you got to fire multiple bullets. I'm like, I only need one.
Wow,
And then I
must
got
be
Bait.
How good.
A sniper.
Made day 2 with 7.5 blinds.
7.5
Somehow
blinds, spun that right up.
Spun it right
It
up.
was really funny
And
when
then
we
it was
saw the
all
group
taken
chat.
away from me real quick.
The group chat was just like, knock someone out with kings. And it's like, you had 7 bigs. What do you mean you knocked someone out?
knock someone out?
What do you mean you knocked someone
Do
out?
you guys
Like,
understand? Like,
No one
7
had
bigs
chips.
is like average and coming
Yeah,
into day
no one
2.
had chips.
Nobody had chips. The guy literally had like 2.5 blinds under the gun, and he gets jacks. Right,
my
he's under the
God.
gun, and he gets jacks, and
That's
he
such
just
a
runs
scam.
into my
That's
kings.
cold.
that's such a sick scam.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like sometimes when you're like playing, some hands are just worth so much more based off the blinds you have.
Yeah.
And just somehow losing in that spot, it's like I literally have the nuts. What's going on right now?
The guy was feeling his nips at that point.
Yeah.
No.
Joke's gotta fly, man. The joke's gotta
Just
fly.
gotta fly.
All right, so the event, I want to give credit where credit's due. The event went off mostly without a hitch.
Yeah.
There were a couple little hiccups with color up. There was a little bit of a problem with the room being so full that it got overly hot or excessively hot.
That's not why. It's because the AC broke.
Yeah,
Did it actually break?
Yeah.
it's broken.
It's broken.
Okay, that's
Still broken?
It was broken for a while. Like
Okay,
2 days
that's why
broken.
it's down bad.
yeah,
That's down bad.
that's down very bad.
Yeah, it was down for multiple days.
Down horrendous.
Bro, they were sweating at
It's
the
still down.
at the final table of the 25K.
Yeah.
because it's still in Paris.
Oh, you're
in the
right,
Thunderdome. They
dude.
were sweating in the
You're right. I
table.
remember.
Oh, you mean it's in Bally's?
Yeah.
Valid.
Yeah, like I remember. Josh came over, like was talking to his friend, was like, "It's 100 degrees sitting up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just."
Can you
brutal.
imagine all those lights on you and no AC? Like that one's tough.
Yeah, that's how champions are made.
Literally, like only fucking snakes survive. Go ahead.
You got it. Hey, man. You gotta walk the valley of the shadow of death in order to get on these streets and make big money, you know?
Big money.
This isn't for the faint of heart.
No.
We're fucking warriors, man. We're in the arena.
It's not for the faint of heart, but you might just fucking faint.
Yeah, that's fine. Get some smelling salts, wake your ass back up,
Snakes
and let's
don't
get the
faint,
fucking
dude.
town. I do think, within their control, the event was ran relatively well. Like, the
Yeah.
AC's obviously out of control. That's a Bally's issue. Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, they did a pretty great job. In years past, they've been massively understaffed. It seems like they did an okay job filling out the dealer positions. The bubble for all purposes was ran relatively well in the one I cashed in. It was slow, but I mean, there was, man, I want to say there was 100 tables, 110 handed tables that they were navigating.
There was a lot of like recount.
Yeah, I think we cashed like 1,062 or something like that.
No, mine was like 890 or something.
Yeah,
I was the final flight. It was the biggest flight.
See, yeah.
So it had like just shy or just over 8,000 players, I think.
Yeah. So they do a couple recounts and then.
Yeah, actually, it might have been 1,200 people who cashed. It was something like very, very large. So somewhere between 100 and 120 tables. Just a handful of TDs navigating this. I thought that they did a pretty good job.
Okay.
A lot of inexperienced dealers too, who also, from my experience, going through a bunch of tables, did great.
Did awesome.
So I think like big success when it's all said and done. That said, there were still some issues that I think we can highlight or should highlight more specifically. It's like, I don't want to just drag them for the sake of it. I think there are a couple of issues that should be highlighted. First and foremost, let's get the rake situation out of the way.
It's
right?
high. It's fucking high.
It's high.
It's really high.
Yeah,
The rake is too damn high.
It's very high. It's
There's two problems.
16%.
Yeah, on top of the fact that it's 60%, I don't like this, like, bro, when it's 500, when it was 565, you knew it was 65, right? It's like transparent, you know it's 65, whatever percent that is, definitely cheaper than this one. When it's 500, I almost feel like they're hiding it from us. It's like 500, here's the smooth 500, let's just, and then they take the 80 out.
Yeah.
Like, I'll happily pay the 565. More money to the prize pool. It's $65 is lower rake, but this is like 500 plus, the 420 plus 80. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's definitely a lot. I think that Jesse, Sylvia, and I were both talking about this and think that this just kind of functions as true when you're running a 20,000 person field. It's so resource intensive that it requires a lot more labor than other days. And in order to maintain your margins, rake has to increase slightly. Now, does that justify a 5 to 6% increase? Maybe not. Maybe this is too much. The Colossus rake was 65 on 5, so we're looking at what, like 13% there?
Well, it's 500 plus 65.
Yeah, so 13%.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I think if it were 13%, we could land on kind of agreeing that that's fair, right? It's a massive, massive undertaking to run something like this. Them taking an extra point or two doesn't seem that unreasonable to me. But it does start to get to the point of gouging whenever we start to crack that 15% mark, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think that there's a debate there to be had about, the rake maybe being a little bit over the top for the buy-in structure. And perhaps we can push back a little bit more on it. But it's tough because I don't know the inner workings of what it takes to run a 20,000 person field. I can only estimate.
Yeah,
right?
there's a non-zero chance that the 500 plus 65 did not run well. Like they needed more resources and they didn't make that much money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's two distinctions we have to focus on is the percentage is number one, but the actual raw number, right? And the way that I think WSOP makes a good amount of their money is actually the higher buy-ins when they can charge the regular percent rake and it's a large number. It
can't be because they've been pumping these small buy-ins like more and more and more often these last couple of years. There has to be a reason why that is.
I think it's a marketing push, honestly.
I think they're just making more money, man.
I don't think they're making a ton of money off this. You're winning $80 per head. I get that's a lot.
It was 1.7.
Right, but it also
that has to be way higher than only the main event could compete.
When you run these, people come to town and they play other things. They eat at the restaurants. They do all you're just bringing more people to.
Yeah, but they don't care about that shit.
They don't care about that stuff.
That's not for.
I guess
that's
it's a
not
restaurant.
Yeah, it's good for ballots.
They
not
play the
WSOP.
dailies now. They play all the dailies. They play the cash games. They play right. So it's just bringing in more.
The
business.
dailies are known for just wrecking people in rake.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a good reason for that. It's because it's such a low buy-in tournament.
And the average player in here is that daily player.
It's also it's also like a waste of resource. So that space could be utilized for something else. It's why they cancel dailies so freely. The pushback with the high buy-ins normal rake is that a lot of space is going unutilized whenever those run. But I think that this is where it gets a little bit murky because they're not paying per square foot. I don't know actually. I don't know how they're doing it.
Convention space. Oh, also,
but yeah, that's the thing.
The 565 is 11.5%. That rake.
No, isn't it 13?
No.
10% would be 50.
You're doing 10%. You're doing 65% of 500. It's 65% of 565.
Oh, 565. Right. Yeah.
So that's
fair.
That's very reasonable, I think, for an event like that.
Yeah.
Gladly
yeah,
pay.
obviously. I mean, I think 13% is still pretty reasonable.
Right. So we all gladly pay 565. It's also very upfront. But we're going to continue the discussion.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was doing like 60. I was doing like 450 or 435 plus 65. Yeah. Which would have been a better structure for this one. But yeah, anyway, like basically it just all comes down to how well they're able to staff, right? So if their cost to staff increases 150%, then their net margins are obviously going to go down on running. Now their gross revenue will go up because they're getting 20,000 people sat, right? So it's obviously striking a balance. And yes, it's great marketing. So like Brian's point is very valid. Those people stick around and play a lot of other cheaper events. The only thing is that they have to try to keep them in-house. That's why they run a 600 on Monday.
That's fucking crushed.
Right, of course.
5,000 people.
It did way better than I thought because
I would have put like, are you playing this? You showed me in the cash outline when I busted. You said, "Hey, you playing the 600?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm just gonna like relax, whatever." If I knew there's 5,000 people in it, I would have played it. I would have played it.
I didn't even think, but like it's so sharp because now those people aren't going to the Venetian.
Yep.
They're just regurgitating their losses here in the WSOP. I don't even know what the rake was on that, but I'm sure it was not low.
Yeah,
$200.
But it was like 500 plus 100.
But it was probably like 60 plus 40, or sorry, 540 plus 60.
All right, this is how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure gonna miss some points, but they staff based on their tables, right? We were having this conversation yesterday. So they have max capacity tables, and then they know exactly how many dealers they need for the entire day. They don't care if there's more people, because that's just more revenue for them. Because let's say there's, call it 4,000 total players, they seat them all in these tables. So each chair is worth $80 for them, right? Because that's the rake they get. On average, with the Colossus, it was 2.5 rebuys per person.
Okay.
Remember that, right? So we ended up, what was the number that was yesterday? $200. So $200 per person per chair is what they're worth.
Okay.
So they just staff that. They just land on a formula of $200 per chair, and they staff accordingly, right? Based on how many tables they have. But lowering the amount of tables for them is actually not good, because all they have to do is the only thing that has a fixed cost is the dealers. Because the floor, they could just say this floor can manage this many tables, and they staff floors based on that. But one floor managing one table costs them the same as one floor managing 40 tables.
Yeah, that's true, but there's a critical mass to that. One floor can't manage 100 tables, so now you have to implement more floor.
Right. So but
there's a finite amount of employees, so they only have X amount of floor. So now in order to staff this, they either have to incentivize the floor to work overtime by paying them more, or they have to go out and hire more floor people.
Correct. And all they do is say they land on how many tables.
But the latter isn't feasible because it's a one-off event. So you can't just hire. I mean, you could, I guess, but like it's unlikely that they're staffing and then reducing after the event, right? So now you have all of this excess staff that you paid an extra cost to.
No, that definitely they just hire contract work, right? One event.
Who?
Yeah, who? Not for floors.
They're all here already, you know?
Right. That's what I mean. There's a massive staff issue. They would have had more tables and reduced the lines if they could have had more staff. It's not like they lack space.
They do. At some point, they run out of space.
But they haven't. That's the point. They ran out of dealers.
So you think they ran out of dealers, not space?
I know for a fact there were dealers working like 18-hour shifts or 15-hour shifts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There are plenty pulling
Yeah.
doubles. It's because there aren't dealers to replace them.
Which
So
is
you're saying
insane,
it's a
by the
dealer
way.
issue, not the
Yes,
tables.
yes.
Okay.
It's probably both, honestly.
Yeah, it could be both. I mean, maybe they're maximizing their space, but I doubt it. Like, they got creative whenever they're at the Rio. They started to put people in fucking bowling alleys, but
Yeah.
that's because there was a massive amount of dealers available at that point in time.
That's wild, dude.
You know,
18-hour days.
that's the thing. That's the big thing
But
that
that's
I'm
what I'm
saying
saying.
about scaling stuff like this is it's not as simple as just increasing production. Because there's a finite number of man, like brick and mortar is different.
Right, but they would
difficult in this
would
instance.
make more money if they just had more. I don't think
They'll make more
I don't think they
gross.
would. Right. If they wanted to make, you're saying they'll make more gross, but their margins are going down. Is what you're saying?
Correct. If they have to pay more, if the cost increases for the staffing, then the margins will naturally go down. But their gross income will go up, of course. They're getting more people through the door. That naturally increases the gross. It's just their net revenue, or sorry, their net margins would slightly decrease on a $500 buy-in. And so they say, we want our net margins to stay the same, so we're going to jack up the rate.
Also, they have to be careful of burnout rate. It happens so often during the series where if they stress their dealers like this, like if we have one of these tournaments every
year they lose 50% by week 3.
yeah,
They lose half their staff by
Basically,
week 3.
so many
every
people
year.
quit yesterday.
it's so taxing on all these dealers.
It's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah,
18 hours
and
a
this
day.
isn't
at my
just
table
dealers either,
yesterday,
right?
She's like, I was here last night at 2 a.m. or whatever it was, and she's like, and now I'm here. Who knows? I mean, the tournament started at 10. She probably
Right,
got there
like that's
at
the
9,
big thing.
or
So this
at least.
tournament's running from 10 till 2. So that's an additional 5 hours of staffing that you otherwise don't have to pay for in a normal event.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cost. That's an increase in cost. Right? It's a significant increase in cost too, because it's being extrapolated out over hundreds and hundreds of tables, not 3 or 4. You're not asking 3 or 4 dealers to stay. You're asking hundreds of dealers to stay
Yeah.
for additional hours. That's a cost. Clearly, the net margin's going down unless you up the rake. And that's why the rake goes up.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems logical to me. I very well could be overlooking something that simply could be true. I'm open to that.
They,
but
they could be taking a lot more, but these guys are definitely working a lot more. Maybe more goes to the dealers. I have no freaking clue.
yeah, I
but
don't know how they compensate. I don't know how any of the inner work is. Anyway, we're getting distracted. The whole point is, like, the rake is obviously very high. Whether it's justified or not, debatable. What I want to poke holes in is this notion that no other tournament that has ever ran has taken first, second, and third place money as rake.
And sixth. Add sixth.
Whatever. It doesn't
First, second,
matter. It
third,
doesn't
and
mean
sixth.
anything.
I'm just saying what the argument actually is.
Okay, but it's not even an argument because no other tournament only pays 8% to first place.
Yeah.
And only pays 4.5% to second, right?
Yeah.
The standard is going to be like 10% is going to be roughly second place money. So, of course, every single event that you play that has a normal field size is going to rake somewhere between first and second place money. There's no positive correlation whatsoever between the prize pool, or sorry, the payout structure and the rake.
Right.
It's just meaningless because the payout structure is based off of a percentage of the prize pool. And how that percentage is manufactured is up to the tournament director. If this were instead of satellite, where they were paying 1,600 5K seats, the rake would now be first through 32nd place or 32x first place. Is that a reasonable comparison? Of course not. So it's a very bad faith argument that gets thrown around a lot. It got thrown around a lot whenever the first Colossus happened, where people were like, "Oh, you're raking more than first place money." Yeah, it's like, yeah, but we're only paying 6% of the prize pool to first place.
Yeah.
So of course we are.
Do we know how the rake breakdown looks, like where that money goes, or we just have no idea?
No, I mean, yeah, it's public somewhere, but I
Like, sure,
didn't
it goes
research
to like dealers and other
like
things. of that nature.
4.5% goes to staff,
Right.
whatever, 10.5% goes to the house. I
Yeah, yeah.
guess.
Gotcha.
It's not super important from our standpoint because we're just paying it,
Right.
but it's probably important to the people that we want to support, I suppose.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay, now for the payouts. Why am I backtracking? I initially was very upset to see 8% payout to first, like really annoyed, especially after the first debacle where this happened with the Colossus. And I didn't want to hear any more bullshit about the golden fucking rule or the golden whatever.
What
Not
is
the
that? What is
golden ratio.
Don't.
It's
It's the way Jack Heffel
It's a
does
secret
his
formula.
payouts. And he got it from his professor from university.
I see. I was just asking for the people.
the
This
problem.
is, the reason why it came about was because before during Jamie Gold's year,
Yeah.
they literally were doing the payouts on the fly on a fucking napkin. And then they were like, well, we can't do this anymore. And then he went to his professor from university. I forget which university it was. And he was like, hey, I need help with this. They came up with the formula, and now we have this golden rule formula.
And they've used that formula for
since the Jamie Gold, after the
for
Jamie
X
Gold
amount of
year.
years. Okay.
Okay,
Makes
and
sense.
look, and for what it's worth, like it works mostly. Most models work until you stress test them. A 20,000 entry field is going to stress test the model,
Yeah.
and it fails.
Especially when it's four different days and all getting paid differently.
Right. So here's the thing. When you run a 20,000 person field like this at a small buy-in event, what you as an operator ultimately want is to spread the money out as uniformly as you possibly can. If it were up to you, you would give 25% of the field money, and you would ensure that nobody made more than like 1% of the prize pool, because it's just in your best interest for all of your customers to get some sort of return. However, the industry won't accept that. People will stop showing up if you're only paying first place 1% of the prize pool, right? If first place was instead of 700K, 80K, we're not doing it, man. I'm not suffering through 15-hour days for this, right? Like nobody wants that. So we have to make the risk reward beneficial to those who grind this out, right? So the golden ratio model that Jack uses is fundamentally sound. It works really well for most events, 5,000 people or fewer. I would say like it probably starts to get stress test around there. I don't know how much adjusting to it they do for the main event, but the main event payouts are usually okay. To be fair, I never run deep enough to care, so I don't really overly scrutinize it. I probably will more so in the future, especially after doing a little bit of modeling for this event. But if we take a look at what the actual payouts are, Guapo, if you want to pull up the actual payout structure, this is what the top 26 looks like in the current structure as it is.
And this Berkey, just before you get into your points, was what I know there was a lot of discussion on, like, should 2-5 grinders be taking a shot at this, and as like their come up story. When I saw the payouts, like I was on your side, and then when I saw the payouts, I was like, man, maybe not, because 14th was like 34,000. I'm like, I just can't in good faith tell like a couple of these grinders, like, yeah, man, this is your shot, like sign up, pay 16% in rake or whatever, and like finish 14th for the run of your life and get 34,000. And that made me feel a little bit different than like the take that you had initially.
Yeah, I mean, my initial take was basically saying you should put yourself in positions to get lucky and have a big influx of capital so that you can then increase your bottom line down or in the future, right?
Right.
I agree with you. If finishing in the top, I mean, getting 17th in this is the equivalent of finishing in the top point. Is it 0.1 or 0.01%? Actually, I can just look at it.
Wild shit.
Right in front of me. So it's 0.02% of the field. And you're being compensated 30,000.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that's good, but it just needs to be better for making those deep heroic runs.
Yeah, I think when you made that tweet, you thought there would be a lot more six-figure payouts.
Yes.
A lot more six-figure, a lot more, high five-figure payouts.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I probably I probably didn't put enough thought into what that would take, because in my head it was just like, okay, this is gonna be $1 million to first, something like that.
Yeah.
And the payouts will scale accordingly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're thinking there's a lot of 100Ks.
Right. And the
90Ks.
thing of
Yeah,
it
you're
is,
thinking like top three tables are getting
You're thinking there's a
100K.
lot of 50K balls.
right, and the thing is that's true. If this were 1.2 million to first, ninth place would be like somewhere between 100 and 120K.
Right.
But it would be a very top heavy structure where the final table is being compensated, and now you would see an insane flat line from like 1% of the field cashing all the way up to 15%.
Yeah.
And I think that that's okay, but I don't think it's in the best interest of the WSOP. So I'm trying to offer a compromise here. So if we take a quick look at their actual payouts, sorry,
The red one.
the red one more time. So if we take a look at their actual payouts, what we can see is I have this broken down through a few categories. Number one, the actual prize money. I converted that to buy-ins because I think that that's a pretty good metric for people to judge whenever they're looking at what the potential reward is. Because you want to think in terms of future bankroll, right? Like, if you win this thing, you are now, no matter what, rolled for $500 buy-ins forever.
Yeah. 1,400 of them.
Right. And then the next two columns are the jump between the payouts. So when you look at the number buy-in jump, it's a 535 buy-in jump between second and first. You don't need to know much to know that that's huge, but I converted that to a percentage. It's a 61, almost 62% jump from second to first. Yeah. That's astronomical. You're asking people to play a heads-up match for $300,000 or 535 buy-ins whenever it's very likely that their bankroll is sub $100,000.
Yeah.
So you're asking them to take on risk that is way, way, way beyond reasonable. And you're effectively incentivizing a chop, which WSOP does not allow and does not facilitate. So this is all very problematic. Like, if you're going to have these hard, fast rules, then we absolutely have to change the structure. If you want to pull up now my proposed alteration to this.
I like how it's green.
I know. One was red and one was like, this is bad.
He's like, this is the down bad chaos. This is the
I
up
want
green.
to visualize that.
Yeah.
You think I don't know what I'm doing?
Oh, I knew what you were doing.
I'm a rookie at
We
this
knew what
shit?
you were
We
doing.
just appreciate it. We like the green.
Exactly. Just pointing it out. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, throw it back up.
Guapo, while this is up, if there's any way that we can get to a screen to put these together, that would be great. I might be asking too much of you, though. But just wanted to throw it out there. Anyway, comparatively speaking now, when we start to look at these payout jumps, you can see how much I flattened the final table. Really, the final three tables. So there's now no jump greater than 33% at the final table. And ninth place is now making six figures. So it's a significant increase to all the places. You're now being heavily compensated for making a deep unicorn run and final tabling this thing. And that's ultimately what all operators should want to achieve in this particular situation, right? You don't want to make one person happy, and that's why I'm walking back the idea that it should be 1.2 or $1 million to first. Yeah. I'm on the side. Let's pay 8%. That's fine. But what we want to do now is make a collection of people do much better for themselves. So getting ninth place now is the equivalent of 220 buy-ins. That's a lot, right? And if you see, there's only two major jumps or inflection points that I programmed in here. And it's on the bubble of the final table, where it's a very big jump from 10th to 9th. It's a 50% pay hike there. And then on the bubble of three tables. So 27th to 26th now is a big hike. It's a 45% jump.
I like that a lot.
Or sorry. The bubble of two tables. So 18th to 17th is a 45% jump. And that makes sense. It's a major inflection point. This is where these bubbles, these soft bubbles that exist, are where ICM is most pertinent.
Yeah.
But when we're dealing with an amateurish field where we want to compensate people the best that we possibly can, we want to make it as flat as humanly possible. And we want to remove ICM as much as we possibly can whenever we have the opportunity to. We want to reward a lot of people for making, again, unicorn runs, right?
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
the pay jumps from at the final table are still very meaningful.
Correct.
Every single one of them is still
big
very
money.
Right. If you, like you said, if you're sub six-figure bankroll, every one of those pay jumps puts you into like another bracket of playing.
9th to 8th, you make $28K. 8th to 7th, you're making 30,000, give or take, or sorry, 34,000.
I don't think people can really read that.
Like 5th to 4th. I mean, it's 80K jump. That's huge.
Yeah, these are all very meaningful, right? So the idea is to really flatten this. And yeah, it's going to take a little bit of tweaking, but this This literally took me. I'm not exaggerating. This took me taking the payout listed on WSOP.com, putting it into a spreadsheet, which was simply copying and pasting. So take the golden ratio, spit out the output, put it into a spreadsheet, and then convert it to percentages. Took me 5 minutes tops. From there, just understanding how we want to level this off and reduce the increase, another 5 minutes tops. Find the solution. This is an influx of $600,000 to the final two tables. So I'm literally asking for like a 6% increase to the top places, right? So this is literally just taking the money that we're complaining isn't being paid to first and second and spreading it out between first and 17th or first and 18th, whatever, right?
It's not like it took you 5 hours of belaboring to kind of figure this out.
Right. And you could say like, oh, well, where's the money coming from? That's going to be so hard to figure out. No, it's not. No, it's not, because the easiest fix in these massive fields, and I suggested this in the past, and it's insane that it's not being implemented, is you pay out the bottom 5% when you're paying a 15% field, a flat rate. You pay them $800, right? Compared to the actual payouts now, there's a multitude of jumps that took place between 3,000 and 2,000, which is insane. So just from that little subsection alone, we recoup like $200K by paying them a flat $800. Then the next pay jump, you pay flat again. So between 10% and 7.5% of the field, you pay them like a flat $1,150 or $1,200, something like that.
Yeah.
We recoup another like 300,000 there, 250,000 there.
I'm not even gonna lie, just from like a gameplay perspective, there are people that will tank for these pay jumps when they get there too. So you just remove that altogether at the bottom 5%.
Not only that, there was no tanking to be done, Landon. You want to know why? Those payouts weren't even fucking listed yet whenever you were getting paid them.
Right. I heard that like no one knew what the payouts were until it was like 1% of the field left.
Wow.
Well, I didn't know
that's
when I
crazy.
busted. So DePaulo, I think he tweeted at you and said something about he finished 300th, and it was like the mystery bounty because you just didn't know.
Right,
you didn't know what you were gonna.
I thought people were covering how much they were making.
No,
with
I
their
literally
thumb.
no. I got 315th place. No brag.
Good run.
But yeah, 315th.
Good crawl.
But I had no idea. I was like, did I cash for 2,500?
Did I
Did I
win?
cash for 4,500? I stood in the line for a half hour to get paid out just out of curiosity.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to stand in this line because I want to know what I'm getting paid.
Right. So the whole point to that is that you can't make the argument that people will be upset if they don't ladder. You can't make the argument that ladders matter from a gaming or strategic standpoint, because the fact of the matter is all of the ladders were a fucking mystery. They were non-existent as far as people were concerned. I still don't know what I made.
On day one, they weren't a mystery. They posted it so you could see that, like, oh, okay, well, when you cash it's 800, but if I get to, if I cut this field in half, I'm going to make another $300.
Yeah,
you can see that.
Yeah.
But like on day two,
but they were so
on day two there was not. We were in the
right, and those ladders were so insignificant. Right. It's like if it were just flat, if you bust on day one, you are only going to make $800 or $1,100. There will be two payouts at this level, and only a select few of you will make $1,100. We recoup that $600 immediately. Flattening the bottom is so smart because the difference between giving somebody a buy-in and a half back versus 2 buy-ins or 2 buy-ins versus 2.25 buy-ins is utterly fucking meaningless to them.
And you eliminate all those pauses that they have to have.
You eliminate all the pauses.
Like there was, I don't know how many, like there was like at least like 3 15-minute pauses where they had to sort it out, see who finished where, so they can pay. People busting too fast, of course.
And you
in
can't
a massive
staff it.
field like that in a turbo, everybody has 5 sub blinds and they're holding on for the bubble, and they all bust at the same time. Right. And then it's just chaos. And you just eliminate with that with your proposal.
It's like we need to know who finished in this place right before the next pay jump, where it's like, bro, like it's $50. Come on, like let's get the show on the road. Stop wasting everybody's time.
Right. And also just logistically speaking, there's no upside for the house to create this chaos. It's only downside.
Of course.
So it's just stubbornness to implement it this way.
I believe you brought this up
years ago.
Years ago.
Years ago.
Yes, literally years ago.
Every single mass field multi-day event, especially ones that potentially cash on day
It was
one.
the first Colossus. After the first Colossus, you were like, here's how you eliminate this problem.
Right.
And they're just,
It's a simple solution. And again, it's just stubbornness on the behalf of Brass because there's nothing incentivizing this. It's only this notion of hanging on that people give so much of a shit when they min cash of whether or not it's 1.75 buy-ins, 2 buy-ins, or 2.25 buy-ins. They just don't. But you know what people do care about? When they finish 18th place and only get $12,000 instead of $20,000.
Yeah.
Right? Or only get $28,000 instead of $40,000. Make it more meaningful up top. Keep it flat where it's irrelevant, and then keep it flat where it's most relevant. If we just flatten out the top 18 places and flatten out the bottom 7.5% of payouts, we end up with a really fucking healthy solution where we're not overpaying anybody for getting lucky, and we're not like shorting anybody who came up just short. Because somebody has to finish in those positions. Yeah. And it's a big fucking time investment to go through 5, 6, 7 days to potentially finish 50th and only make like 8 buy-ins, which is roughly where you land in the main event.
Yeah.
I think you make like 11 buy-ins now or 12 buy-ins for 50th. When I got 43rd, I made 210 buy-ins.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's so much better. And what happened? They maybe took $1 million total off of the top?
No, you got 20
cares?
buy-ins.
Or yeah, sorry, my apologies. My apologies.
200. I mean,
but still, you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. We're like, you take it from the bottom, and then everyone's always in like that small little min cash section anyways, and just kind of clean it up a little bit. Like, it doesn't take very long to clean it up.
Right, and it's like now we see these payouts being so much smaller whenever you're inside 100 players in the World Series or in the main event because they're paying 15%.
Yeah.
But that 15% doesn't have to be significant, man. Pay $15,000 to that entire 5% that bust.
Yeah.
No one is going to be upset about that.
And like
it's
the middle
main
kind
event.
of where I finished was fine. Like I got 3,600, which is reasonable, I think, for where I finished.
I agree.
That was all. The middle part.
If you
was
notice,
fine.
I didn't change much of the middle.
No, right,
because
right.
I think it's quite reasonable. Yeah. That's my piece. Anybody have anything to add?
No, it
Give us
sounds
a
The only thing I'd push back on is the whole, it doesn't take that long. They can't obviously implement that right now. Even next year, if they were to just plug it into Excel and do it.
There's going to be more of these tournaments.
Yeah.
There's the 777.
I'll do the fucking payouts. It will literally take me 20 minutes. Send me the golden ratio and I will convert it.
How much?
We know
ratio
what
is
the golden
proprietary
ratio.
information, Berkey. You're not getting it.
The golden ratio is the Fibonacci thing. The golden rule is the Jack Apple thing.
No, the golden rule is do unto others as you would have done unto
I
yourself.
thought that's what Jack Apple called it.
No, he called it the golden ratio.
The golden ratio.
The golden ratio is the
It's the
Da Vinci
1.6 to
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I understand.
I never
that-
said you didn't.
okay.
Anyway.
Okay, we don't have to go off.
I'm
I'm not
Leave
the
the
one.
goddamn room, man.
Next fucking Da Vinci
I'm
is going
not
to
the
be
one who named it.
Bro,
I know what the true golden
what do you
ratio
think Da
is.
Vinci's payouts would look like?
Okay, no. Okay, what were you saying?
You guys are genius.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh, basically just like, there's time to tweak these payouts between the bubble and the next day.
Oh, there's
right?
and just now, like there's going to be more high, like low buy-in, high number fields. The 777, the Colossus is still coming. Like all these like small buy-in fields on weekends are all gonna have these massive fields with less players, but still huge fields.
They don't
Yeah.
need to be like gaming regular. No, they don't. Never mind. What am I talking about?
I don't know.
Here's the thing. Like, this is very easy to reverse engineer, right? I don't know what the golden ratio or the golden ratio payout structure looks like.
Sure.
But I know that like whatever the algorithm is for it, you could easily correct for one of the variables to make sure that at the final table or the final two tables, there's no jump greater than call it 33%.
Sure. Yeah.
What if we just got our own professor to make a payout structure and see how different it looks from the WSOP one?
I don't think there's as
I
bad.
could do this. I could write something like this, but I don't want to spend the
I
time
can
or
tell you
energy unless I'm being paid for it.
For Run It Up Reno, we actually built our own UI and everything for payouts.
it's not challenging.
Right.
It's 2022. Like everything's
Well,
algorithm.
that's what I was getting at. Like, this was made a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's just probably updates to that can and should be made.
Oh,
Da
absolutely.
Vinci lives, dude.
Yo, I want a Da Vinci payout structure.
All right,
There's
now-
a 6K or there's a 1506 max that is off and popping. I got to get my ass down there. I can't do any more of this.
No more Da Vinci code.
I enjoyed today's
So tomorrow
conversation.
we're talking about the win.
What's happening at the win?
I mean, they threw a 15 mil out there.
Oh fuck! I was supposed to lead with that. I totally forgot. We will discuss that
Let's leave
tomorrow.
it tomorrow.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below if you guys enjoyed this episode. Give us your feedback. What do you think should happen to Frank? What do you think should happen with the massage therapist? What do you think of these payout structures for these large field small buy-in events? We're happy to hear from all of you. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. We appreciate your feedback. We'll see you same time tomorrow, unless I'm on day 2, in which case these guys will take care of you.
Happy
See ya.
birthday, Mom. I love you, Mom.